What's happening, folks? Welcome back to the channel. We're doing this one from Inside VR because Meta has officially killed off the Meta Scoreboards app. Now, we did get a heads up about this. We got an email last fall saying that the app was going to go away as of December 20th, 2024, and now that's happened. If you don't know what the Scoreboards app is, or now was, it was basically one app that housed all of your achievements, your in-game achievements, and your in-game leaderboards for any game you had on Meta Quest that supported that API. So inside your headset, that was the only way for you to actually see any of your in-game achievements, how many of your friends have achieved those, what percentage of Quest players have achieved those that own the same app, so on and so forth. Now there's no actual way to do that. So the way it worked before is, let's go to an app that I know for a fact has achievements, like Demio for instance. You click on these three dots here, and there's a button there that says achievements. If you click on that button, that would actually take you into the Scoreboards app. Most people didn't even know that you were opening an app to begin with. So let's click on achievements now and just see what happens. What you're seeing right here is the actual Scoreboards app. We'll just blow that up. And I'm going to go ahead and spoil the ending now. None of this is actually going to load. It's just going to sit in three dots into perpetuity because the app no longer exists. So how do you see your achievements now if you wanted to see your in-game achievements for any game you own on your Quest? I'll say the trouble now. Short answer, you can't. There's no way to actually see your achievements inside the headset now. The original email that we got and the final notification that went out basically says that if you want to see that, you can still look them up inside the Meta Horizon app, which I went through and recorded that on my phone so you can see how that works. The way that works is that you open the Meta Horizon app, and when it loads up your profile, just below where your profile and your avatar is, you scroll to the right to where it says apps. You click on that and you'll get a feed of your achievements if you scroll down a bit. The problem with that, as I scroll through this, is that this is just a list of your most recent achievements for any games that you played recently. So for instance, here's an achievement I got for Vacation Simulator, and if you just scroll through this feed, you can see stuff that I did for Red Matter 1 back when I recorded the Red Matter 1 Quest 3 update video. If you click on one of these achievements, you can see what it is and what game it's for, but there's no way in this chronological feed to tell which game it comes from. You have to click on each actual achievement to get to that. And again, there's no way to see every single achievement for any game you have on Quest. That feature is just gone. It doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And the other downside, let's pull up a browser here and let's go to the developer page on Meta itself. If you go to the Achievements API page, there's a notice at the top here that says, notice of feature support change. Due to the scheduled deprecation of the Scoreboard app on December 20th, 2024, the Achievements API is currently unsupported. This will not break existing apps using the Achievements API. However, we do not recommend implementing the API into your app pending future updates. What this means is that if you are a Quest developer and you would like to add achievements, in-game achievements into your game, you cannot use the Meta API anymore. You have to develop your own internal system for leaderboards and for achievements. Now, for anyone who's thinking that's not a big deal, let's just hop into a couple of games that have leaderboards while I explain why that is a big deal. Let's see here. I know that has leaderboards. I'm not going to go to Beat Saber because Meta owns that one. Let's go to In Death Unchained. Okay, so now I'm in Death Unchained, and you can see all the leaderboards here. See all this stuff? See all this stuff? Leaderboards? See these achievements here? I can click through and see what it was. That's amazing. Like I've slayed 9 Temple Knights. That's great. I do not know if In Death Unchained or other games on the Quest Store, which ones are using the Meta API for achievements or which ones are using their own internal process. This is especially important for like roguelites and multiplayer games where you're going to do a little bit of leaderboard and score chasing, basically grinding to unlock cosmetics and other unlockables in the game itself. Without the Meta Achievements app, you now have to build this into your game itself. What's the big deal about that? Number one, it's a lot more work because now you're having to develop your own internal system as opposed to using something that's already ready made and you just have to do your basic input stuff, something that pretty much anyone could use. The other part of it is all this information, all this stuff right here, all that stuff over there, all that information has to be housed somewhere. And unless you have a basement with a server being kept in it that can handle, you know, hundreds, if not thousands, if not tens or hundreds of thousands of people, all having to have their data tracked for their top scores, you have to now buy server space for that, and that costs money. Now, some of the bigger VR companies will be able to afford it, but if you're a small developer or a single developer, you are basically left out in the cold because now you have to foot the cost of your own server bill to be able to house that data. And if your game unexpectedly becomes a hit, that maybe that's a good problem to have because you have a lot of people playing your game. But again, servers cost money, and that server cost can rise astronomically if there are a bunch of people hitting your server at once, because then you have to buy more bandwidth for them to be able to store all of their data. Now we're over here in another roguelike shooter. This one is Sweet Surrender, and your leaderboards are all over here. I came into Sweet Surrender because a while back they implemented these different classes for their boards. So before, you were just one type of player and there was just one set of leaderboards for everything. Now they have all these other classes like Medic, Sniper, Grenadier, Reaper, Lunatic, etc. And they all have their own separate leaderboards. So think about the game doing something like this and having to house all that information separately. That's just more server space that they're taking up. My fear is from 2025 forward, unless you had already built the achievements into the API in the development process, we're going to see less and less games with achievement on quest. And I've done 2 separate videos about this. I've talked about it in multiple other places. Achievements are low hanging fruit for developers to be able to bring people into their games. Take Drop Dead the Cabin, for instance. This is a game that if you're able to complete a full run, this game's not going to take you more than about 30 minutes or so, although it does take a fair bit of grinding to get good enough to be able to complete a full run. But just looking at the fastest run times on this leaderboard, the fastest run time, number 1 is Dollar Bill Z360 at 15 minutes. That is insane. But again, your average run on this is going to take somewhere from 30 to like 40 minutes or so. Now just pretend that this doesn't exist for this game. Just pretend that these scores here and the best scores here, and then the scores I can show for my friends. Like I'm number 2 to Farmer True. I'm actually okay with that. Farmer True is a really, really good gamer in games like this. But if I go to total scores, hey, look at that, I'm number 1 because I've done the most runs out of all my friends on this list. Stuff like this is going to go away. Developers are going to shy away from doing things like this on Quest if Meta themselves have basically said, yeah, we don't really care about leaderboards, we don't really care about achievements. Developers are going to look into other avenues to make that happen, or they're just going to cut it out of their games entirely. And there's a whole subculture of gaming in general, which I don't think Meta really understands, of people who will just grind games to try to get to the top of the leaderboards, to do the fastest runs, things like that. Their own in-house game, Beat Saber, is built around that. There is competitive ranked Beat Saber based on who can get the top scores. It doesn't make any sense to me. It is such an easy retention tool that I don't understand why Meta is ignoring, and frankly, it's quite frustrating. So that's the news. I wish I had something more positive to tell you about. If you found this video helpful, you know what, that's a terrible plug because I don't really think this is helpful. If you found this video informative, please like the video, share the video, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next one.